Welcome back to the channel today, guys. We are going to get into a topic that may ruffle a few feathers because we are going to talk about if hand loading is still worth it in 2025, and honestly, it may not be. Okay, now before you come at me in the comments, let's back up a step. If you like hand loading just because you like it, that's one thing, right? If you are an ELR guy, shooting competitions, etc., etc., there's obviously still scenarios where it is the only way to go, okay? But there's a lot more to why people say they hand load than just competitions and consistency. A lot of people talk about the money-saving aspect of it, and that's where it starts to get a little dicey nowadays. But like I said, 10, 15, 20 years ago, hand loading was kind of like a rite of passage for competitions, really serious hunting if you want to extend your ranges, all that stuff, right? It can help consistency, accuracy. A lot of times it used to save you money. You name it. You guys know the drill. I don't need to give you a breakdown on every reason hand loading is awesome, right? We know the case. We know what it's for. However, things have come a long ways, and I think it really depends why you want to hand load. Are you the hunter that doesn't shoot over 300 yards and you think you could maybe save a few bucks? I don't know. A lot of this is also going to depend what factory loads you shoot, right? The reason I have these two loads on the table here is A, I just made another video, make sure to check that out. B, 6.5 Creedmoor Hornady ELDM loads. While they are awesome right from the factory, they are pretty underpowered, right? You can really turn the gas up on those quite a bit, squeeze a lot more velocity out of there than what they're putting in there, right? These out of this rifle with a 24.3 inch barrel or whatever Tika does has as average velocity, last time I checked the chrono, of like 2660, something like that, 2670, somewhere in there. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's something in the mid 26s. You can stand on those a lot more. They, in my opinion, kind of download these for use in gas guns and things like that. So you could really turn that up quite a bit, okay? Now, Berger, they make 140 grain in their loads. I don't remember which bullet, but if I remember right, their advertised numbers are like in the 28s, right? And Berger's known for making damn good ammo overall with Lapua brass and their bullets and all kinds of stuff for just consistency and accuracy. Those are nasty, right? So are you really going to outshine the Berger ammo in terms of velocity? Maybe not. Could you outrun Hornady? Definitely. However, could you outrun this Hornady load? Maybe. This is a 165 CX, okay? I shoot it out of my Browning with a 26-inch barrel. This 165 copper bullet is going 32.23 average out of the muzzle. Before some of you tell me how you got 3,800 feet a second with a similar load, okay. My big question is, are you going to turn that up with any more, let's call it, noticeable difference in your use case, right? That's the question. Are you really going to do much more with this than get it to shoot under a minute at 3,200 and change? There's not a lot left to do there. I mean, you can, of course, but I don't know. That's pretty damn good from a factory load. Obviously, today you can still reuse your brass, right? Powder and primers used to be a lot more affordable. They weren't overly scarce. Nowadays, it's not as much the case, right? Bullets just why am I drawing a blank? The bullets themselves. They used to not be overly expensive, and now they're pretty damn expensive, right? Especially if you're looking at a Nosler bullet, a Hornady bullet, a Berger bullet, whatever it may be. They aren't exactly giving them away anymore. It's even more magnified on things like 6.5 Creed. We can throw 308 in there, 22-250, stuff that's not overly expensive off the shelf. Like, these are 35 bucks a box for 20, right? You can definitely trim down your cost, but your initial investment and how much you shoot is really going to depend how long it takes you to do that. And again, if you're going to have any notable benefits in your style. Obviously, there's styles that hand loading is the option. We're aware. For the average guy hunting, I don't know. I don't know that you're going to accomplish much. Again, one of the biggest factors used to be cost, right? Everything's a lot more expensive now, including boxes of bullets, but the entry level for reloading, right? Get all your presses, all your kits, and there's going to be some guy that says he got it all for $50 at a garage store. Let's just say your entry level cost is $750 for, you know, I feel like that's a more than reasonable amount. Not the cheapest, far from the most expensive. You could do a lot more than that if you wanted to. Maybe you have a big stack of brass laying around, but then you got to buy powders, bullets. You guys know the drill. What's kind of frustrating right now is, well, primers aren't always necessarily available, even still to this day. Powders are a little bit scarce, right? We still hear all about that. You go to the store to get your Reloader 26, H1000 Retumbo, spit it out, you name it. One day they got several on the shelf, and you go back 3 days later, 3 weeks later, 2 months later, and there's none to be found, right? That's kind of a pain in the butt if you want to reload. Now, granted, you know, a gallon or whatever goes a long ways, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Like I said, is it really something that's worth jumping into these days for the average hunter? So when you combine the smaller amount of financial savings with the amount of time, right? You got to prep your brass, prep your primer pockets, prime everything, do the whole 9 yards. And again, if you just like doing it, I'm never going to tell you not to do it, right? That's not what this discussion is. But when you factor your time into it, and if you're like me, I'm a dad, I have 1 2-year-old, I got another one on the way, I have a full-time job. I don't have a lot of time to just sit down and hammer out 50, 60, 80 loads at a time. I would like to, and someday I probably will. I have in the past, I enjoyed it. But again, right now, I just don't see the overall savings, which would be the primary reason that I would do it. Because at the end of the day, let's talk about standard deviation, okay? I've shot 60 of these 140 ELDMs over the chronograph in the last 5 or 6 years. So keep in mind, in 5 or 6 years, that's a lot of different lot numbers. That's a lot of different weather climates. I've shot it at 7,000 feet and 15 degrees over the chronograph. I've shot it at the range here in 120 degrees, right? A lot of different scenarios. 60 or 70 rounds, I can't remember which one. My standard deviation is about, not my standard, excuse me, my extreme spread is about 60 feet per second, 62, something like that. Now, is that great? No, right? That's not great at all. But it's not that bad overall given the circumstance. Factory ammo, a myriad of different scenarios, all of that stuff, right? Over many years, okay? And what I mean by that's not that bad, the furthest shooting I'm ever doing is 600, 700, 800 yards, maybe shooting at some rocks in the desert, right? And does it have a notable effect if you have an extreme spread of that much? Yeah, it does. But in those scenarios, I mean, whatever, I'm just taking whacks, right? It's very accurate overall. I don't notice any massive differences. I'm not competing. I'm not trying to hit 10 rings at 800 yards or 1,200 yards or any of that stuff, right? Just running out and shooting. When I hunt animals, I just keep it inside 500 yards for the most part. An extreme spread of 50 FPS over 60 or 70 rounds, or excuse me, 60 extreme spread, something like that. That doesn't really change anything that I'm using the rifle for. So overall, here's kind of what I'm getting at. If you say you hand load to save money and you shoot something like 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, 300 Win Mag, whatever, you can save money for sure. But there's a lot of guys, when you talk to them about golf, right, that, hey, why do you golf? Well, it's great exercise. And then you go golfing with them, and they sit in the cart and drink 9 beers over 18 holes, okay? So they're kind of with the whole exercise aspect of it, right? That is a trap that I fell into when I did a little bit of hand loading. I did it to save money, and next thing you know, I'm buying the most expensive brass, top-of-the-line powders. I'm buying Nosler bullets, the best primers, you know what I mean? Am I really saving money? I mean, of course, in the long run, you might save a little bit of money reusing your brass and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to save that much money. It's going to take a long time, right? Eventually, obviously, it's like telling our wives why we buy diesel pickups is because they get better fuel economy and they tow better. We just fail to mention that the oil changes are twice as expensive, whether you do them yourself or not, and you got to buy DEF, and they're 10 grand more to begin with, right? It's kind of one of those scenarios. So here to give you kind of a brief wrap up, is hand loading worth it? I think it depends why. If you just want to hand load, you like to hand load, of course it's worth it, right? If that's just a hobby of yours, by all means, have at it. If you are looking for velocity gains, it is certainly possible, especially depending on your cartridge. Like I say, over here, you can drastically improve what they got coming out of the box here in terms of velocity. Over here, you might squeak some more horsepower out of there, right? But overall, that's a pretty stout load right from the rip. I don't think you're going to improve that one very much myself. If you have videos, tag me in the comments, prove me wrong. I'd love to see. Show me a 165 CX ripping out of your 26-inch barrel at 3450. You know, that would be sick. But yeah, like I say, overall, I think it depends on your overall reasoning, okay? If you just like it, it's your hobby, absolutely, have at it. If you're a competition shooter trying to hit the X at 800, absolutely, right? Get after it in there hand loading. If you're a hunter who shoots 300 or 400 yards and you like plinking on the weekends, I don't know that the benefits of hand loading are necessarily going to mean much to you or me, but that's going to do it, guys. Make sure to subscribe, drop a like, let me know in the comments what you think, and we will see you next time.